and welcome to another episode of the DCSL Client Spotlight Series. I'm Tamila Akiste Johnson, your host and a senior consultant here at DCSL Corporate Services Limited.
Yeah, and I'm Michael Adu, your co-host. It's always a pleasure to spotlight remarkable leaders and organizations that DCSL partners with. And today's guest certainly fits the bill.
Yes. Today we're going to be interviewing Mr. Jobalo Oshikanlu, a distinguished investment professional with a career spanning nearly 3 decades. I don't know if I'm right, but spanning nearly 3 decades across investment banking, corporate finance, and private equity. And he's also a lawyer.
Yes.
So,
Mr. Oshikanlu is currently the deputy CEO of ARM-Harith Infrastructures Limited, where he leads
Infrastructure Investments Limited.
Yes, where he leads one of Africa's premier infrastructure fund managers.
Yes. He has played a key role in mobilizing capital for impactful infrastructure across West Africa and has helped position ARM-Harith as a trailblazer in climate-aligned private capital infrastructure investing.
Mr. Oshikanlu, we are absolutely honored to have you with us today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to join you today. I appreciate being invited.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So let's just jump right into it. So just for those of them who may not know you personally, could you kick us off with a quick introduction? Tell us a bit more about yourself and about your work at ARM-Harith.
Thank you. And thank you for the earlier introduction. You introduced me. My name is Jobalo Oshikanlu. I'm Deputy CEO at ARM-Harith Infrastructure Investment Limited. We are an infrastructure investment business that is using the private equity model for investing. The offering we have for investors, you classify as alternative investment. We are not a traditional investment firm offering traditional assets, but we have a private equity business that is focused exclusively on infrastructure. I myself that speak to you have focused. I've had occasion to say that I'm the first Nigerian-based lawyer to focus exclusively on infrastructure. I've focused exclusively on infrastructure. I've done nothing else but infrastructure for approximately 20 years. I would say specifically from 2006, till date, I've not done anything else but infrastructure finance. And it's only in recent years that you start to find lawyers in this country that do only one type of asset like this. The infrastructure finance journey for a long time. Back in the days, in the early 2000s, when Nigeria was coming out of military dictatorship, Nigeria was trying to explore various alternative options for financing and developing its infrastructure. Lagos State has always been at the cutting edge, at the forefront of trying to bring in innovation and bringing in catalyzing commercial activity. So Lagos State government wanted to get private sector investment into its infrastructure. Interestingly, at the time, the current president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was the governor of Lagos at the time. When then my client ARM decided to partner with the government in private sector investment. So the government had to, first of all, put in place an enabling environment. A law was passed and worked upon after several years to enable private firms invest capital into public infrastructure. That law was passed in 2004, and I wrote most of that law then, working in the team at the Lagos State government.
Fantastic.
So that was also my early days of foraying into infrastructure before I decided to focus exclusively on that. And then, of course, there were a number of highway infrastructure schemes that were studied and assessed at the time as that could be viable for private sector investment. The Lekki Toll Road concession, which you might know, which was done by Lekki Concession Company, was one of the results of that. I set up Lekki Concession Company along with a few other professionals, sponsored by ARM at the time, ARM Asset and Resource Management Company. And then we did that for some time. And when we exited that asset, we're private investors. We're not government. So we always invested so that we could exit and make a decent return. and we did exit and made a decent return. And the asset was eventually handed over back to the state government. The Lekki Construction Company became a parastate of the government. It's no longer private sector owned today, since the exit was concluded in 2014. That was fully negotiated in 2012 and exited. The concession was bought back by the government, and we went on to do other things. We set up ARM-Harith in 2013 fully. Although before then ARM had been doing various infrastructure businesses on a proprietary basis, but the joint venture with Harith, ARM-Harith is a joint venture between ARM of Nigeria and Harith General Partners of South Africa, who are Pan-African infrastructure investors. They invest across Africa. Their objective in partnering with ARM is to set up a platform for infrastructure development and finance in West Africa, since they were not as strong in West Africa as ARM. And that was brought back to the partnership in 2013, and we launched our first fund in 2015. I then was just legal director of the business. I went on to be legal and compliance, and then legal and investment, and then executive director for legal and investments, and more recently in the last 2 years, deputy chief executive officer.
Well, that looks like, it's been a fantastic journey, for ARM-Harith. So what would you say has been the cornerstone of the company's success? Maybe just a couple of points.
Well, I would say that the first thing that has been the cornerstone of the company's success, I would point out, is ambition. The first thing I'll point out is ambition. The second thing I'll point out that is related to that somewhat is innovation. So ambition in the sense that it can be done. Yes, we can. That's the usual statement. Yes, we can. I remember many years ago when we were trying to develop the Lekki Toll concession, and which was a Lagos State government project, and the federal government was approached and said we would like to concession some of our roads for private sector development. And even at the federal level, it was strange to them that you want to hand over you want to sell the road. What does that mean? You want to give a concession for 25 years to the road. What does that mean? How do you do that? It is a public asset. So this is something that is private financing for infrastructure on a bankable or viable basis is something that is very well known and entrenched in developed markets.
Yes,
it's a very known way. It's a very well recognized way of financing and developing infrastructure. Not all of the infrastructure that we need as the various countries can be funded on the government balance sheet, and there are various reasons why you partner with private sector to also develop some of these infrastructure. Sometimes it's even just discipline and governance and cost effectiveness, and sometimes it's technology you are trying to bring in. Sometimes it's expertise you get. So there are various things that the public sector can gain from a partnership with the private sector to develop infrastructure.
Agreed.
And sometimes it's capital, because you want to go. So there are various types. There's a whole range and quantum of infrastructure that the government that private sector will not be able to invest in. The private sector is not a charity. Private sector will not invest in a manner that will not yield return, because that's what business. Private sector is business, right? So a business is in business because business needs to make financial return. So if there is no financial return to be made from an infrastructure investment, private sector will not invest. So the ones that, but nevertheless, whether the private sector can invest or not, infrastructure still must be provided for the people. So the government needs to definitely focus its resources more on those areas where private sector will not go, and so that the private sector can invest in the ones that it finds to be financially viable. Bankable is the term that we use commonly in infrastructure. The project must be bankable for it to be able to attract capital of the type that it needs to succeed. So government balance sheet needs to be freed up for as much of the public sector infrastructure that needs to be provided that private sector will not invest in. Private sector may not even invest up to half, or not even up to 1/4 of infrastructure requirements. So one of the reasons why when we partner with private sector is to be able to attract additional financing and develop infrastructure at a faster pace that can enable national growth and economic development. So we despite the fact that it hadn't been done before in Nigeria, outside of the oil and gas and telecom sector, there was no private sector investment in infrastructure in Nigeria before we started the journey with the government in Nigeria. So that ambition of delivering something for people that has not been done before, so as to contribute to develop our own our country, our environment, our markets, and bring economic growth, is an ambition that is very dear to my heart, and also something that has meant that has been a key driving force of my partnership with of my own long partnership with ARM, because I started my relationship with ARM as my client. You know, as you introduced me, I qualified as a lawyer more than 25 years ago, and I've done most of my career working for ARM or with ARM. But ARM had that big ambition to deliver more and more ways of infrastructure finance and growth in Nigeria, and that ambition is significantly realized because based on all of the work we've done over so many years now, so many more players in the market now have gained confidence to also invest in their own ways in infrastructure because of the work we did. We were the pioneers of private sector investment in infrastructure, and that ambition is even at where we are today. Despite the fact that we're not yet anywhere close to our destination or where we're going, we have achieved a lot of that ambition in terms of creating a market and an environment where the private sector can feel confident and free to invest in infrastructure for the common good. So ambition is what I would say is the first thing. Second thing is innovation. We are always now every environment is different around the world. There are always there are general principles that apply in project finance and infrastructure for what a project private sector will finance. But there is always domestication that is required, and there's always innovation required because the challenges you face in every market will differ. And infrastructure finance and project finance generally is about de-risk. It's about dealing with the risks. So if you cannot address the risks to investment, then you are investing in an unsustainable way, and you are putting capital at risk, at undue risk. You're basically jeopardizing capital. You're on the risk of throwing away money. So we are always finding ways. We always innovate, and we solve for problems, and we do things in new ways that hasn't been done before, in order to achieve great successes. And then several other people come and build on this and come and basically take advantage of the work that we've done. That is the reality of the market, but we're happy to do that. We're about to launch our second fund now, and it has a lot of innovative features to it, which we expect that after some years the market will start to copy again. But we're
it's
happy
like you're building new industries. You're building new industries as you move. You're basically starting up new industries as you move forward. That's really nice.
Yeah, I would say we are building our own industry, our sector. We're building it. We're expanding it to make sure that it's more and more opportunity for others and for the country as a whole. We at the point, I think that, so I would say that to date, other people have enjoyed the work we've done more than we have. But I think we are at the cusp of changing that narrative and making sure that we can take advantage of as much of the innovation that we bring to the market as others will do. So others are not going to take more benefit than we will. We are going to take benefit of our work as well going forward.
You're going to create the cake and eat it yourselves.
I
will share. Don't worry. We will share, but we are not going to lose most of the cake to others going forward, like we have done today.
I just wanted to add that I feel like there's an element, it's probably just my own perception, there's an element of patriotism there in starting something in an environment that not a lot of people are interested in and creating infrastructure around. And for you to do infrastructure development, you have to believe in the place that you're setting up your roots in, that nothing's going to happen in the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. It's an element of believing in Nigeria, I guess, in the West Africa in general.
That is absolutely correct. There's definitely a lot of patriotism in that. And I can tell you, one of the things that is commonly said about Nigeria is that we have a lot of potential. Now, that has become like a cliche. People say it a lot, and people are fed up of hearing it, that we have potential. We want potential to translate into growth and development. But we strongly believe in that, and we believe the time for Nigeria to shine will come. And when it comes, we want to be at the forefront. We want to show that we have done a lot to actually make that happen. And we believe that a lot of the good work that we've done over the years will also come to bear in bringing the development at the time that it comes. I myself, I speak to you, I sort of grew up in Nigeria. Back in the days I started as a professional. Most of my contemporaries But most of my peers and even family that are, close to the same age, most people relocated from Nigeria. Most people left
True.
Nigeria. So, but for some reason, I just didn't believe that I need to leave Nigeria. I didn't believe that I wanted shortcuts. I don't want shortcuts to success. I want to succeed when the time is right. And I think that we're getting closer and closer in Nigeria to realizing, to knowing, to basically discovering ourselves and being able to wake ourselves up, that sleeping giant that we set ourselves as. And I believe that we will get there. We will get there in terms of development. Even in ARM-Harith, I have a lot of colleagues who are, most of them are Nigerians, but most of them are, I call them repatriates. They were from other parts of the country, other parts of the world, and they come back to Nigeria. I think there's going to be more and more